A tactical SWAT team descends on a suburban home. A battering ram shatters the front door as heavily armed agents flood the hallway. The DEA was hunting the architect of a sprawling drug syndicate, following a trail of international trafficking and cartel-level logistics. Behind the code was Ross Ulbricht. He was a 20-something engineering graduate from Texas, whose initial inventory was limited to a few bags of magic mushrooms grown in a basement. Ross held a radical libertarian vision of a free market without government intervention. But to build it, he had to engineer a way to completely mask a user's location, hide their money, and physically move the product without detection. The first hurdle was the Internet's inherent visibility. Standard.com websites leave a digital trail that leads investigators directly back to a user's physical IP address. To bypass this, Ross co-opted Tor. This sophisticated software was originally created by the U.S. Navy in the 1990s, specifically to hide the military's digital footprint. Ross used Tor to route his marketplace away from public URLs, forcing users through an encrypted network and onto specialized .onion addresses. This process trapped buyers and sellers inside a closed-loop system where neither party could be tracked by authorities. By weaponizing military-grade location masking, Ross had effectively switched on the lights to the modern dark web. With location secured, Ross faced a financial bottleneck. Traditional e-commerce relies on credit cards, which require government-issued identification, making them useless for a black market. The solution was Bitcoin. It offered an anonymous, decentralized digital currency that required zero personal information to trade. But there was still a trust barrier. Criminals are not going to send untraceable digital money without a technological guarantee that the product will actually show up. Ross held the payments in a central escrow and built a tumbler system. When a transaction was completed, the payment was fractured into dozens of microfractions. These pieces were rapidly mixed with hundreds of other users' coins before finally depositing into the vendor's balance. This process severed the blockchain's paper trail, proving that a completely anonymous black market could function on a global scale. The final vulnerability was physical. You can hide a computer's location and digital money, but the unmistakable scent of narcotics still has to travel through the mail. Ross used basic kitchen tools to solve this, vacuum sealing the product flat and wiping the bags with alcohol to neutralize any spores or odors that drug-sniffing dogs might detect. He dropped these flat, unmarked envelopes into blue collection bins, using the massive daily volume of the U.S. Postal Service as his primary cover. By masking IP addresses, laundering digital currency, and neutralizing physical scent, Ross had finalized the blueprint for a large-scale digital drug trade. When a viral media article published the details of the site, traffic exploded. The inventory rapidly expanded from homegrown mushrooms to heroin, black tar cocaine, and assault rifles. To manage this empire and distance himself from the day-to-day operations, Ross adopted the admin alias Dread Pirate Roberts. The DEA began infiltrating the site, posing as major buyers to bait his employees. When his first hire, Curtis Green, was caught in a cocaine sting in Utah, he surrendered his administrator passwords to the agency to avoid prosecution. To protect his system, the once peaceful libertarian authorized hundreds of thousands of dollars in Bitcoin payments to order the executions of his perceived threats. Despite the encryption of Tor and Bitcoin, a federal records agent believed Ross had made a mistake on the public internet before the Silk Road launched. He found it in a 2011 forum post. Ross had promoted his new site using an alias, but requested replies be sent to his personal Gmail address. The architect of an untraceable network was unmasked by a simple Google search and a momentary lapse in judgment. Customs intercepted a package of 9 fake IDs, all bearing Ross's face, shipped directly to his real apartment in San Francisco. Authorities tracked him to a public library, but if Ross closed his laptop, all the evidence would be locked behind encryption. To prevent this, undercover agents staged a loud argument to distract him. The exact moment that Ross looked away, an undercover agent violently snatched the open laptop before the session could time out. Securing that open computer bypassed his encryption entirely. On the hard drive was a daily digital diary that provided a full confession to the entire criminal enterprise. Ross was convicted and sentenced to 2 life terms without the possibility of parole, serving over a decade in federal prison. In 2025, a newly inaugurated Donald Trump granted Ross a full, unconditional pardon, allowing him to walk free. Ross Ulbricht proved that brilliant code can create an anonymous system, but his rise and fall demonstrated that you can never truly encrypt human nature, pride, and error.